The night sky was filled with smoke. Ash and fire spread across the battlefield. Strange ships floated above like shadows, their broken parts burning as they fell into the ruined ground. The air was heavy with dust, and every sound echoed like thunder. In the middle of this silence walked a human soldier. His name did not matter here. He was tired, bleeding from small wounds, but still moving forward. His boots sank into the soft mud, the ground painted with the marks of war. He carried no weapon in his hands, only a small light to see the broken world around him. He thought he was alone. But in the shadows, someone was watching. An alien girl crouched behind a wall of stone. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, sharp, and full of fear. She was young, but she was a soldier trained to kill. Her people had told her that humans were dangerous, monsters wearing the skin of people. They said humans were liars, destroyers of worlds, enemies who must never be trusted. And now, before her eyes, stood one. Her heart raced. Her fingers shook as she gripped her weapon. She could not let him escape. If she returned without killing him, she would be seen as weak. A coward. The shame would be too much to carry. The human soldier moved slowly, not knowing she was there. He looked at the ruins with sadness, not anger. His face was pale, his eyes tired. But the alien girl did not see sadness. She only saw a target. He is the enemy, she told herself. I must do it. The weapon in her hands felt heavy. The trigger was cold against her finger. She breathed deeply, trying to calm the storm inside her chest. The human stopped walking. He bent down to touch a broken helmet on the ground. Dust covered it, but he brushed it away with gentle hands, as if it belonged to someone he once knew. He whispered something, words too soft for her to hear. The alien girl narrowed her eyes. Why was he whispering? Was it a trick? Was he calling for others? She had no time to wait. Her finger pressed the trigger. A flash of light broke the silence. The weapon fired. The human cried out and fell hard to the ground. His light rolled away, leaving him half hidden in the shadows. For a moment, the alien girl froze. Her chest felt tight. She expected him to fight back, to shout, to attack like the monster she was told humans were. But there was nothing. Only the sound of his heavy breathing. He was alive, but badly hurt. She stepped closer, her hands trembling. She should finish him. One more shot would end it. Her commanders would praise her, and her people would see her as strong. But as she looked at him lying in the mud, something inside her changed. The human lifted his head weakly. Blood touched his lips, but his eyes were not angry. They were calm. He looked straight at her, not with hate, but with something else, something she could not understand. You're not my enemy, he whispered, his voice broken before falling still. The alien girl gasped. His words echoed in her mind. Not my enemy. She stood frozen, her weapon still aimed at him. But her finger would not move. She thought of all the stories she had been told. Humans were beasts, killers, destroyers. Yet the one before her was different. He looked weak, fragile, even human. The battlefield around them was silent again. Smoke drifted slowly into the sky. The alien girl lowered her weapon just slightly, unsure of what to do. Should she kill him? Should she leave him to die? Or should she listen to the strange feeling inside her heart, the feeling that told her something about this human was different? Her world had changed the moment she pulled the trigger, and she had no idea that this single choice, the shot fired on a lonely battlefield, would be remembered forever. The alien girl stood frozen, her weapon heavy in her hands. Smoke from her shot still lingered in the air, curling like ghosts above the battlefield. The human lay on the ground, blood on his chest, motionless except for the faint rise and fall of his breathing. She should have felt relief. She should have felt proud. But instead she felt something else, confusion. Her people had always said humans were monsters. They were supposed to scream, to fight, to strike back with fire in their eyes, yet this one, he did not. He had only whispered, "You're not my enemy," before falling silent. Why would he say that? The alien girl's heart pounded. She took slow steps toward him, her weapon still aimed, ready to finish the job. She knelt beside him and saw his face more clearly. It was pale, yes, but it was not the face of a monster. His jaw was rough with dirt, his eyes half closed from pain, but there was something strangely soft about him. Something human. She reached out almost against her own will and touched his shoulder. His body twitched and he groaned weakly. His lips moved, trying to speak again. "Water," he whispered. Just one word. The alien girl pulled her hand back quickly. What was she doing? Why should she help him? He was the enemy. If anyone saw her now, she would be punished. But still, his voice echoed inside her mind. He did not beg for his life. He did not curse her. He only asked for water. Her throat felt dry. She had water in a small flask at her side. She gripped it tightly, her mind racing. If she gave it to him, it would be treason. If she let him die, it would be easy. Simple. Clean. But when she looked at him again, she saw something she had never expected. Trust. His eyes, half shut and heavy with pain, still looked at her as if he believed she would not harm him again, as if he believed she might even save him. Her fingers shook as she lifted the flask. Slowly, carefully, she tipped it toward his lips. Drops of water touched his mouth and he swallowed with effort. A faint sigh escaped him, a sound almost like gratitude. The alien girl's chest tightened. She should not feel this way. She should not feel pity. But the feeling grew stronger with every second she looked at him. The human's breathing steadied slightly. His eyes opened wider now, though still weak. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice was quiet, rough, but full of something strange. Kindness. The alien girl looked away quickly, ashamed. She was not supposed to hear gratitude from an enemy. She was not supposed to feel her heart grow heavy with questions. She sat back, watching him. The silence of the battlefield pressed around them. The war was still happening somewhere out there, but in this small space, there were only two figures: an alien girl who had pulled the trigger, and a human who should have been dead, but was not. Minutes passed. The human tried to move, pushing himself up with trembling arms. His body shook and he fell back again, too weak to rise. The alien girl almost reached to help him but stopped. What was she doing? Why was she even still here? She should leave. If her people found her, they would ask questions. They would see the human alive and they would know she had failed. Worse, they would know she had shown mercy. But something inside her whispered, "Stay." She sat near him, her weapon still close, ready in case he tried anything. But he did not. He only lay there, breathing, eyes half closed, as if trusting her completely. "Why didn't you kill me?" she finally asked, her voice quiet, almost breaking. The human turned his head slightly toward her. His lips curved, into the faintest smile even through pain. "Because you're not my enemy," he said again, repeating the words he had spoken before. The alien girl's breath caught. She wanted to shout at him, to say he was lying, that humans always lied. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw no lies there. Only truth. Her people had told her that humans were dangerous because of their strength. But sitting here looking at him, she began to wonder if humans were dangerous because of something else. Their spirit, their strange way of seeing the world, their ability to find hope even while bleeding on a battlefield. The alien girl lowered her weapon completely. For the first time, she was not thinking like a soldier. She was thinking like herself. She did not know it yet, but this choice, the choice to let him live, would change her life forever. The night grew colder as the alien girl sat beside the wounded human. The silence of the battlefield pressed on her like a heavy blanket. Smoke drifted slowly into the sky, and the faint glow of fire burned far in the distance. Somewhere out, there her people were fighting, killing, dying. But here, in this ruined place, the war felt far away. She looked down at the human. His breathing was shallow, but steady. His lips were dry, his face pale. He was weak, helpless, a man who could not even stand on his own. And yet, he had not begged for life. He had not cursed her for shooting him. He had only whispered those strange words. "You're not my enemy." The words would not leave her mind. They repeated again and again, soft but sharp, like echoes, inside her chest. Her weapon rested across her knees. It would be so easy to raise it and finish him. One more shot, and the problem would be gone. She could return to her people with pride. She could say she had done her duty. They would praise her for her strength, but when she lifted the weapon slightly, her hands trembled. She looked at him again, at his calm expression even in pain, and she could not pull the trigger. Why not? The alien girl shook her head, confused. This was not who she was supposed to be. She was trained to kill without mercy, to see humans as nothing more than dangerous beasts. She had heard the stories since childhood. Humans burned planets, destroyed worlds, left only ashes behind. They were clever liars who hid behind soft words before striking with knives. But now she wondered if those stories were lies. She whispered to herself, what if they were wrong? The human stirred at the sound of her voice. His eyes opened slowly, still weak but aware. He looked at her without fear, as if he trusted her completely. It unsettled her. "You should hate me," she said quietly. "I shot you, I almost killed you, why don't you hate me?" The human's lips curved into a faint, tired smile. "Because hate won't help," he whispered. His voice was rough, but the words were steady. "Hate never helps." Her chest tightened. The answer was so simple, yet it felt like a stone dropped into deep water inside her heart. Her people would never say such words. They believed in strength and control and fear, not in kindness, not in mercy. The alien girl pressed her hands against her helmet, shaking her head. "No, he is tricking me. This is what humans do. He wants me to believe his lies." But when she looked again into his eyes, she saw no trick, only truth. Time passed slowly. She sat there, torn between two choices: to kill him and prove her loyalty, or to let him live and betray everything she had been taught. The sound of distant voices drifted through the smoke. Her people, soldiers, they were searching the ruins. Her heart jumped. If they found the human alive, they would know she had failed. Worse, they would know she had protected him. The human heard the voices too. His body tensed, but he did not try to crawl away. He looked at her, his eyes sharp even through pain. "Go," he whispered. "If they find you here with Ferret, they'll punish you." The alien girl stared at him, shocked. Even now he was thinking of her safety. Why? Why would an enemy care for her life? She gritted her teeth, her mind spinning. If she left him here, he would die when her people arrived. If she stayed, they would both be caught. She stood quickly, pulling her weapon close, ready to defend herself if she had to, but her heart beat wildly. For the first time, she realized she was not afraid of dying. She was afraid of making the wrong choice. The voices grew louder. Shapes moved in the distance. Shadows of her own kind. They were coming closer. The alien girl looked down at the human one last time. His eyes were closed again, his breath shallow, his body weak. If she abandoned him now, no one would blame her. No one would ever know she had hesitated, but deep inside she knew the truth. She would know. She would never forget. Her hands tightened on her weapon. Her choice was clear. "I don't know why," she whispered to herself, "but I can't let you die." The alien girl bent down, slid her arms beneath the human, and began to lift him. He groaned in pain, his eyes flickering open. "Why?" he asked weakly. She did not answer. She only pulled him close, hiding him from the view of the approaching soldiers. Her heart pounded as footsteps echoed nearby. For the first time in her life, she had broken her orders. For the first time, she had chosen her own path, and she knew nothing would ever be the same again. The alien girl moved quickly through the broken ruins, carrying the wounded human in her arms. His weight slowed her, but she did not stop. Every step felt heavy, not just because of him but because of the choice she had made. She had broken her orders. She had betrayed her training. And yet, she kept moving. Behind her, the voices of her people echoed faintly in the distance. They were searching the battlefield, calling to each other, their weapons ready. If they found her carrying a human instead of killing him, she knew what would happen. She would be branded a traitor. She would lose everything: her honor, her family, her place among her people. But when she looked down at the human's face, pale and weak, she felt something strange. Not fear, not regret. Something else. Something she could not name. She found a small shelter inside the ruins, a broken building half buried in dust and stone. She pushed the door aside and stepped inside, placing the human gently on the floor. He groaned softly, his eyes opening just enough to look at her. "You saved me," he whispered. His voice was weak, but there was no anger, no suspicion, only gratitude. The alien girl sat back, staring at him. "Don't thank me," she muttered. "I don't even know why I did it." The human gave a faint smile, though pain lined his face. "Sometimes, the heart knows before the mind does." She frowned, confused by his words. Simple, but strange. What did he mean? Her people never spoke of hearts. They spoke of orders, of strength, of victory. Feelings were seen as weakness, but this human spoke as if feelings were strength. The human coughed, his body trembling. Instinctively, she reached for him, holding his shoulder to steady him. He leaned against her hand, his breathing rough, but calmer with her support. She pulled away quickly, unsettled by the closeness. "Don't misunderstand," she said coldly. "I am not your friend. I don't know why I'm helping you." His eyes closed slowly, and he nodded. "Still," he whispered, "you did help me." The alien girl turned her face away, her chest tight. She should not feel this way. She should not feel a strange warmth in his words, but she could not stop it. Hours passed. The human drifted in and out of sleep, his body weak but alive. The alien girl sat in silence, watching him, guarding the shelter. Every time he stirred, she felt the pull of questions she could not answer. When he woke again, his eyes were clearer. He studied her face quietly, then asked, "What's your name?" The alien girl hesitated. Among her people, names were sacred, rarely given to outsiders, but something in his voice made her pause. She lowered her head. "Why do you want to know?" "Because," the human said softly, "I don't want to die without knowing who saved me." Her chest tightened again. After a long silence, she finally whispered her name. He repeated it slowly, as if tasting the sound. Then he nodded. "I'll remember it." No one had ever spoken her name that way before. Not with respect, not with gentleness. It unsettled her more than any threat could. The night grew colder. She shared a small piece of food with him, though she knew it was dangerous. He accepted it with quiet thanks. As he ate, he began to speak, slowly, carefully. He told her of his world, of blue skies and wide oceans, of forests that stretched beyond sight and cities filled with lights. He spoke of music and laughter, of families sitting together, of children running free. The alien girl listened, silent but curious. Her world had been filled with war since before she was born. She had never heard of such things. A world of peace. A world of joy. Could it really exist? "You lie," she whispered, though her voice was weak. "Your people destroy, that's what I was told." The human shook his head. "Some destroy, but many create, many love. We are not perfect, but we are more than war." His words struck her like a blade, sharp and deep. Could it be true? Could humans be more than the monsters her people described? She looked at him closely, searching for deceit, but all she saw was truth in his eyes. The human coughed again, his strength fading. She reached for him, pressing her hand against his chest to steady him. For the first time, she realized how fragile he was. His body was not built like hers. He was softer, weaker. And yet, there was something inside him that felt unbreakable. In that moment, she felt a bond forming, a thin thread connecting them. It was not friendship, not yet, but it was something real. She sat beside him in silence as he drifted back to sleep. Her weapon lay nearby, but she no longer thought of using it. Instead, she thought of his stories, of his strange kindness, of his belief that she was not his enemy. And for the first time in her life, she began to wonder if everything she had been taught about humans was a lie. The ruins were quiet through the night. The alien girl sat near the doorway of the broken shelter, her weapon across her lap, her eyes fixed on the shadows outside. The human slept behind her, his breathing weak but steady. Every sound in the dark made her tense. Every gust of wind felt like footsteps. She had chosen to protect him, but now the weight of that choice pressed harder than ever. If her people found them, she would be branded a traitor. If the humans' people came, they would kill her on sight. She had no safe path forward. The faint light of dawn began to creep across the ruined land. Smoke from yesterday's battle drifted like thin ghosts above the broken buildings. Somewhere in the distance, a horn sounded, the signal of patrols moving. The alien girl's chest tightened. Her people were close. Behind her, the human stirred, opening his eyes slowly. His voice was faint. "They're coming, aren't they?" She turned, meeting his gaze. For a moment she thought about lying, but then she shook her head. "Yes, my people search the ruins. They will come here soon." He nodded weakly. "Then you should leave me. If they find us together, they'll kill you too." The alien girl frowned, her hands tightening on her weapon. "I know," she whispered, "but I can't leave you." The human's lips curved in a faint smile. Even in pain, even near death, he smiled. "You're strange," he said softly. She looked away quickly, embarrassed. "Be quiet. Save your strength." But inside, her heart felt heavier. Why was she risking everything for him? She still did not understand. All she knew was that walking away was impossible now. The sound of voices drifted closer. Harsh, sharp, the language of her people. She recognized the tone. Soldiers sweeping through the ruins, hunting for survivors. The human tried to sit up, wincing from the pain. She pushed him back gently. "Stay down. Don't move. If they see you, it's over." He nodded slowly, trusting her once again. That trust made her chest ache. The footsteps grew louder. Dust shook from the ceiling as armored boots struck the ground outside. The alien girl pressed her back against the wall, holding her weapon tight. Her people were only a few steps away. One of the soldiers shouted, "Check inside!" Her blood ran cold. The door creaked as a shadow fell across the entrance. Another soldier stepped inside, scanning the dark interior. His eyes swept past her first, then landed on the human lying weak on the floor. His face hardened. "Enemy!" the soldier barked, raising his weapon. Before he could fire, the alien girl leapt forward. Her own weapon snapped up, aimed at his chest. "No!" she shouted. The soldier froze, shocked. "What are you doing? Stand aside. He's the enemy." Her heart pounded. She stood between the soldier and the human, weapon steady but hands trembling. "He's wounded. He's no threat. He's not what they told us." The soldier's eyes widened with rage. "Have you lost your mind? Kill him, or I'll kill you both." Behind her, the human groaned softly. She glanced at him quickly, then back at her fellow soldier. "No," she said firmly, her voice shaking but strong. "I won't let you." The soldier's weapon rose higher. "Traitor," he spat. In that instant, time seemed to slow. The alien girl's mind raced. If she fired, she would kill one of her own people. If she did nothing, the human would die. Either way, she could never return to who she was before. Her finger tightened on the trigger. The soldier fired first. She dove to the side, blasting back with her own weapon. Light flashed, the sound of energy shots cracking through the ruins. Dust and smoke filled the small shelter. When it cleared, the soldier lay on the ground, unmoving. Her weapon shook in her hands. She had killed one of her own kind. For a long moment, she stared at the fallen soldier, her breath heavy, her chest tight. She felt sick, but she forced herself to turn back toward the human. He was staring at her, eyes wide with shock. You saved me again." She lowered her weapon, slowly, her voice almost a whisper. "I don't know why, but I couldn't let him kill you." Outside, more voices shouted. The other soldiers had heard the shots. They were coming. The human tried to rise again, his body weak but desperate. "Go," he said urgently. "You have to run." But the alien girl shook her head. "Not without you." Her people's voices grew louder, closer. She grabbed the human's arm, pulling him to his feet. He staggered, leaning heavily against her, but he stayed upright. Together, they stumbled out the back of the shelter, moving into the maze of ruins as more soldiers poured into the building behind them. The chase had begun. For the first time, the alien girl and the human were bound not only by choice but by survival, and every step they took together pulled them deeper into a story that neither of them could escape. The ruins burned with new fire as the alien girl and the human stumbled through the broken streets. Dust and smoke clung to the air, turning every breath into pain. Behind them, voices shouted, weapons fired, boots pounded against stone. Her people were hunting them. The alien girl held the human close, her arm around his waist as he leaned heavily on her. His legs shook, his face pale, but his eyes stayed sharp. Every step was a struggle, but he refused to fall. "We can't outrun them forever," he whispered. His voice was weak, but steady. "I know," she answered, glancing over her shoulder. Shadows moved closer, soldiers sweeping through the ruins. "But we need to try." The human gave a faint smile. "Or we make a stand." Her chest tightened. "You can barely walk, how can you fight?" He looked at her, eyes filled with quiet fire. "I've fought when I had nothing left before. Humans. We don't stop just because we're weak." His words struck her like a blade. She had always thought strength meant power, control, the ability to crush. But this human showed another kind of strength, a strength born from refusing to give up, even when the body was broken. They reached a collapsed wall half buried in rubble. She pulled him down behind it, forcing silence as the footsteps grew louder. The soldiers were close now, scanning the ruins with sharp eyes. The human's hand touched hers. She flinched, but he held it firmly. "Listen," he whispered. "I know you risked everything for me, but if they catch you, it's over. You should run." She stared at him, her throat tight. "I told you, I won't leave you." "But why?" he asked softly. "Why risk your life for me when you owe me nothing?" The alien girl opened her mouth, then closed it again. She had no answer. She only knew that walking away was impossible now. Something had changed inside her the moment he whispered those words, "You're not my enemy." The sound of weapons clattering broke the silence. The soldiers had found their trail. She gripped her weapon tightly, her heart pounding. She could not face them all, not with the human so weak. The human looked at her, determination in his eyes. "Give me something to fight with." She hesitated. He was barely standing, but there was no time. She pulled a small blade from her side and placed it in his hand. His fingers closed around it with surprising strength. When the soldiers rounded the corner, the alien girl stood to face them. Weapon ready. Energy bolts lit the air as they fired. She moved fast, dodging, returning shots, her body fueled by fear and defiance. Beside her, the human moved slowly but with purpose. When one soldier broke through the line, charging forward, the human lunged, with the blade, striking true despite his weakness. The soldier fell, shocked by the human's speed. The alien girl's eyes widened. Even wounded, even fragile, he fought with everything he had. Another soldier attacked from the side. The human staggered, almost falling, but the alien girl caught him, firing her weapon over his shoulder and dropping the enemy. For a moment, They leaned against each other, breathless, fighting as one. The battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. At last, silence fell. The soldiers lay scattered in the rubble, defeated. The alien girl's chest rose and fell heavily, her arms trembling from the fight. She turned to the human. He was bleeding, his body weak, but his eyes burned with fire. He gave her a faint smile. "Told you," he said. "Humans don't stop." Her heart pounded at his words. She had seen her own people fight with power, with strength. But this was different. This was something deeper. The human fought not because of orders, not because of honor, but because he refused to give in. She realized then why he felt so different, why she could not kill him, why his words echoed inside her chest. Humans were not monsters. Humans were something else, something her people had never understood. She lowered her weapon slowly, her voice barely a whisper. You're stronger than I thought, not in body, but here." She touched her chest gently over her heart. The human nodded weakly. "That's what makes us human." Her throat tightened. She looked at him, at his broken body held up, only by will, and she felt something shift inside her. Respect, admiration, maybe even something more. But there was no time to think about it. In the distance, more horns sounded. More soldiers would come. The alien girl tightened her grip on the human's arm, helping him to stand. "Then we keep going," she said firmly. He gave her another small smile, even through pain. Together. And so they moved into the ruins again, side by side, no longer enemies, no longer strangers. The girl who had pulled the trigger, and the human who had refused to die. It was no longer just about survival. Something greater was being born in the ashes of war, and the galaxy itself would feel the weight of what happened here. The alien girl and the human moved through the ruins as the sun rose over the battlefield. The light turned the broken city gold, shining across fire, smoke, and silence. Every step they took was heavy. The human leaned on her shoulder, his strength fading, but his eyes never closed. He refused to give in. The girl's heart beat fast. She knew her people would not stop searching. Already, horns sounded again in the distance. Patrols would spread, hunters would track. They would never forget a traitor who killed her own soldier, and they would never forgive her for saving a human. Still, she walked forward. She no longer cared what her people thought. The bond she had found in this broken place meant more than all the orders and lies she had been given since birth. At last, they reached the edge of the ruins. Before them stretched an open valley, burned but quiet. Across the far side, faint smoke rose from where human survivors had built a small camp. If they could reach it, the human would be safe. But safety came with a cost. The girl stopped, staring at the camp. If she brought him there, her people would know. Her name would be erased, her family dishonored, her life, as she knew it, gone, forever. She looked at him, at the human who could barely stand but still met her eyes with calm fire. "Go," she whispered. "This is your chance. My people will kill me if I take you further." The human shook his head slowly. "No, I won't go without you." Her chest tightened. "You don't understand. If they see me with you, I'll be hunted forever. I'll lose everything." He smiled faintly, though pain pulled at his face. "Then you'll have me. That's something. Maybe it's enough." Her breath caught. His words cut deeper than any blade. She turned her face away, hiding the strange heat in her eyes. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever offered her belonging without asking for loyalty first. But their moment of stillness shattered as shouts rang out behind them. A group of alien soldiers emerged from the ruins, weapons ready, eyes blazing. The girl pulled the human down into cover, her weapon rising. She was tired, her body shaking, but her resolve burned bright. "Stay low," she whispered. The soldiers spread out, surrounding them. "Traitor," one shouted. "You fight for the enemy? You shame your people." The girl stood tall, her weapon steady, though her hands trembled. "I fight for the truth," she called back. "And the truth is, He is not my enemy, soldiers sneered, raising their weapons. The air grew hot with tension, moments from fire. Then, to her shock, the human stood beside her, his body weak, his legs shaking, but his spirit unbroken. He gripped the blade she had given him, his eyes fierce. The soldiers laughed. Pathetic, look at him, he can't even stand. But the human's voice rang clear. I may be weak now, but humans do not stop. We fight even when broken, and that's why you fear us. The soldiers hesitated. For just a moment, doubt flickered in their eyes. The alien girl stepped closer, to him standing side by side. If you want him, she said firmly, you'll have to go through me too. The silence stretched. The soldiers shifted, uncertain. And then slowly, one lowered his weapon. Then another. The girl's heart raced. They were hesitating, not because of her, but because of the human's words. His spirit, even in weakness, shook their certainty. The commander snarled, but his soldiers did not move. At last he spat on the ground and signaled retreat. Fools, he muttered, you'll regret this. With that, they turned back into the ruins. The girl lowered her weapon slowly, her body trembling with relief. She looked at the human. He was pale, swaying on his feet but smiling. You see? He whispered. Sometimes, all it takes is one act, one voice, and things change. Her chest ached. She stepped closer, catching him before he fell. You're impossible, she said softly. Humans usually are, he replied with a weak laugh. Together, they walked the last stretch toward the human camp. Every step was heavy, but every step was shared. When the human survivors saw them, they rushed forward, shocked to see one of their own alive, and even more shocked to see an alien girl carrying him. Weapons were raised, but the human lifted a weak hand. She saved me, he said firmly. Without her, I wouldn't be here. The alien girl braced herself for hate, for violence, but instead she saw confusion, and then respect. In that moment she understood. Her life would never return to what it was. She was no longer only her people's soldier. She was something else now, something new. History would remember the battle. History would remember the war. But, more than that, history would remember the day an alien girl pulled the trigger on a human, and then chose to save him. Because that choice, one act of defiance, one act of compassion, lit the first spark of change between two species, and, in the end, it was worth it.